motion picture. It is how memories have been captured for more than 100 years. It is how examples of true excellence are passed down from generation to generation.
The Colts are world champions for the first time since 1971.
And records the great moments of our time.
The New York Giants have knocked off the New England Patriots, and the Giants, with the most improbable win in recent memory, have won Super Bowl 42.
To see the heights the NFL has reached, we see its path in the frames of history. A 50-year-old title game like no other before or since.
Fans, today the 1958 National Professional Football season is officially over, culminating with this great championship game.
Before Peyton Manning set the standard for excellence, there was Johnny U.
Unitas back to throw. Gets good protection. Throws a long one. It is good to Moore.
Before the Giants defense stood tall against a team on the edge of perfection, there was Sam Huff.
Huff just grabbed him low, picked him up, and dropped him.
Now, for the first time, the legends who played in the game that put the NFL on the road to greatness watch the game with the champions of today.
Well, I tell you right now, I'm so lucky I didn't play back then.
You'd have loved it.
And they'll see it as they've never seen it before, in color.
Metzler makes a brilliant catch.
Join us for the landmark presentation of the greatest game ever played.
Unitas flips to Moore. Moore has it the 5. It may or may not be a first down. It'll be that close. Complete to Berry. Berry to the 10, the 5. Ball is fumbled by Rhodes. The New York Giants pick it up. Webster picks it up. Give it to the 5, the 4. He's gone. Gives to Amici. Finds a big hole in the center. He makes it. Myra makes it. Man, what a game.
50 years ago, December 28, 1958 to be exact, right here at Yankee Stadium, the Baltimore Colts and the New York Giants played for the NFL championship in what would become known as the greatest game ever played. At a time when baseball was king in America, an estimated 45 million people around the country watched the NFL's first and only championship decided in overtime. On the field, men who would become NFL royalty. Among the players, coaches, and owners, 17 would go on to the Pro Football Hall of Fame. For Baltimore, it was a rare moment on the big stage. The last time they'd had a winner in town, Grover Cleveland was president. Having moved to Baltimore from Dallas in 1953, the Colts emerged as an NFL power in their 6th season. With Johnny Unitas and Raymond Berry leading the way, they were the NFL's most exciting team in 1958. Number 1 in offensive yards and in points. And the defense was ranked 2nd in the league. The darlings of the NFL were the New York Football Giants. And this is the first year you didn't have to clarify that. The baseball Giants having just finished their first season in San Francisco. 2 years after throttling the Bears to win the 1956 title, Sam Huff was a household name, leading the league's top-rated defense, while Frank Gifford scored 10 touchdowns in 10 games to spearhead the offense. Coaches on the sideline for the Giants, they weren't bad either. Vince Lombardi in charge of the offense, Tom Landry running the defense. The teams had met here 7 weeks earlier during the regular season. Unitas was out with busted ribs and a punctured lung, and the Giants won 24-21. The rematch in late December would forever change the way America looked at football. Now, the way many look at this game will be changed as well. For the first time, the 1958 NFL Championship will be shown in color, painstakingly colorized by top experts in the field. With the original TV broadcast lost to history, we pieced together the game from various film archives. You'll also be hearing the original radio calls from the game. Joe Boland and Bill McColgan from NBC. And a second call from legendary broadcaster Bob Wolf will be featured in our special presentation, along with our own Mike Tirico. To help explore the 50th anniversary of this landmark game, players and coaches from the last 2 Super Bowl champions, the Colts and the Giants, the same 2 franchises who played for the title 50 years ago, watched the game with their 1958 counterparts. You'll hear those conversations linking the past and the present. In addition, you'll hear from Neil Leifer, who took one of the game's most celebrated photographs. journalists Dave Anderson and Bill Gilday, who were both at the game, and Academy Award-winning director and Baltimore native Barry Levinson. So, for the next 2 hours, sit back and enjoy the greatest game ever played.
Good afternoon, football fans from Yankee Stadium. It's the Colts against the New York Giants.
With all the spirit, drive, and enthusiasm of the men who love to play this game and who play to win, we'll see the finest teams in the National Football League today.
Did the presence of a New York team help elevate the game?
The setting was a big part of the game.
Sure.
And the fans were a big part of the game. I mean, they were yelling and screaming, and rabid fans. It wouldn't have played the same way someplace else.
We have 2 weeks in between. We get there a week before the game. Did you guys show up like the day before the game to play?
Yeah, we went up from Baltimore to New York. We checked in the hotel, and all these guys are outside on Saturday morning, and they're all hollering, "They're going to kill you tomorrow." And we say, "We're going to shove the ball up there, you know what."
Let's check some of the boys who are expected to play a big part in this football game. First, for the Western Conference champions, the Baltimore Colts, coached by Weeb Eubank.
We gave a talk before our game there in New York to remind our team that we really were made up of a lot of guys that other teams either didn't think were all that good or had given up on.
From a Baltimore perspective, of a kid in Baltimore, it was a game, and it was more than a game. Baltimore at that time, with the economic changes that were beginning to happen in the 50s, was a fairly depressed area. On the train, it was the place you had to stop between New York and Washington. We had no real identity. All of a sudden, we get to be in a championship game with the New York team, the Giants. It was like the top of the world.
Number 19, Johnny Unitas, will be at quarterback. 6'1", 190 pounds.
The Cinderella kid of pro football. Unitas cost the Colts only a telephone call to sign. And this year he's been the mainspring of their versatile attack. He's thrown at least one touchdown pass in his last 25 consecutive games. That's a National Football League record.
Unitas picked a team or a defensive part better than anybody. Yes. You could go here, then there, here, there, bing, bang, touchdown.
At left end, number 82, Ray Berry, in his 4th year in the National Football League.
What I learned about the body is that you just keep training it. You can train it, and you can elevate a skill.
The right end, number 84 from Notre Dame, Jim Mutschelter, 6'1", 215 pounds, 28 years old.
My first year with Baltimore, we won 3 games and lost 9, and started progressing from there.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it took us 3 to 4 years for this team to build to a championship team.
Number 68, Alex Sandusky. His home is in Annapolis, Maryland.
My first year, I was a regular. I made $5,000. How much the houses back then? You could have bought one of them row houses in Baltimore for $4,500. I mean, a nice row house.
The right halfback, also living in Baltimore, number 24, the former Penn State star, Lenny Moore, and a threat to go the distance anytime he gets his hands on the ball.
If you made 11, 12,000 a year, we were happy. If you were all pro and whatever, you could count on a $1,000 raise. And man, we thought we were rich.
Plenty of meat on that Baltimore defensive line. They guard Donovan, 6'3", 270 pounds.
I had a bonus in my contract. If I stayed 275 or under, I got $3,000 at the end of the season. Now, you don't think I stayed under 275?
I know some guys who pay that just for wanting to be over. They don't care.
Yeah, it looks like they're all over now.
But what were the other fat guys out there? Oh, some ugly bodies.
Well, I was fat, too. I was fat when I was born. I was 17 pounds. I was out of shape from the beginning.
Gino Marchetti, an all-pro end the last 3 years. He has been in the Pro Bowl for the last 5 years and is regarded by most pro football experts as the best defensive end in the game.
What was the most you made?
Me?
Yeah, no season.
Well, my last year, probably 40.
You made more than I did.
Let's take a look at some of the boys who will be operating for the New York team this afternoon. Frank Gifford, the left halfback, was drafted number 1 by the Giants in 1952, and they've never been sorry for that draft. He is just about the most versatile backfield man in the game today.
Frank Gifford, I grew up with, called Monday Night Football games. Good. Tell me what kind of player Frank Gifford was.
Frank Gifford was a great player. People forget that the Giants' assistant coach for offense was Vince Lombardi. And Gifford was his man. Gifford was his man.
Pat Summerall, who 2 weeks ago this afternoon kicked them right into the Eastern Browns 13-10 in the final game of the regular season and set up the playoff last week.
Well, it used to be fair game for the kicker on the kickoff.
Really?
Oh, every team assigned a guy to go get the kicker.
It's expected that Coach Jim Lee Howe will again follow his system of starting Don Heinrich and then following up with the veteran Charlie Connerly.
Your players had accepted the Heinrich-Connolly thing by now, obviously.
Well, most of us thought it was really stupid. We just waited till Jim Lee, for some reason, who was very superstitious, decided to take Heinrich out and put our main man, Charlie Connerly, in. You would like the way they coached then, Tom. Jim Lee never had anything to do with the game.
No.
It was only, you took the roll call, you got on the bus. Lombardi coached the offense, and Tom Landry coached the defense.
In the offseason, Connerly is a cotton farmer in Clarksdale, Mississippi.
How did that work? Having a job during the season.
On Monday morning, I was on the production floor at 7 o'clock. I didn't get that much work done, but I was there. They expected to see me.
Wow. Yeah.
I taught school in the off season. I had a watermelon farm in Florida.
The left guard, number 68, Al Berry, 6'2", 230-pounder from Southern California.
You were talking about strength. Was weight training as big? You know?
Oh, no.
No. There was none.
We didn't believe in it.
They said you're going to get muscle bound, and so don't lift weights.
Right. And don't swim.
The Giants are introducing their defensive lineup. Big Sam Huff, he's wearing number 70. Roosevelt Greer at right tackle.
I think my game day was like me going to the bathroom and throwing up. Saying, this is a big day. I got to get my stomach down.
Their defensive backfield composed of Lyndon Crow, number 41.
You look good size right now.
About what my playing weight was.
What was that?
195.
It seems that New York is one great big village today, which everyone is talking about. The New York Giants and the Baltimore Colts, 70,000 fans approximately, will show up here today.
This was a baseball town. You know, sports fans weren't talking about the Giants. You could buy a ticket to any Giant game the season of 1958, including the championship game.
My father took me as a teenager to this game. The attendance was 64,000 and something, so there were empty seats. And between 15 and 20,000 came up from Baltimore.
Well, this was just the NFL championship, which in those years was not that big a deal. There were football fans everywhere, but it wasn't a nationwide religion.
Up to this time, pro football had not made that great an impact anywhere. College football had.
College was bigger than pro at this time.
Oh, no question.
You get so much media attention now, and Super Bowl is the biggest event. But compared to, like, I know boxing was big back then, baseball was huge.
We didn't have any real relationship or interviews by other media other than our regular beat writers in Baltimore.
Now they made the Super Bowl where you have mandatory mornings where you have to get up and you have to be in front of the camera. If you're not there, they fine you.
Yeah, but you guys can afford it.
Oh, please, it's still money.
Look, we had nothing like that. If a newspaper reporter came around to say something to you after the game, you don't talk to me, talk to the coach.
Really?
I swear to God. It's not like it is today. You guys are all reporters yourself.
Well, now
you got these big words you use. I don't even understand what the hell they are.
Me either, and I use some of them.
The Giants will receive the kickoff, and in the first period of this football game, they'll be moving from north to south here at Yankee Stadium.
The game was played on December 28th, 1958, which happened to be my 16th birthday. So for a number of reasons, it's a day I'll never forget.
But you weren't paid to do it. You were just a kid there with a camera at that time?
It was a hobby.
The Colts against the Giants for the World Championship of Professional Football. Retchachar waiting for the whistle from referee Ron Gibbs. Here's the kick. Retchachar gets a good boot going high and deep into the Giant end zone. Maynard takes it and decides to stay in there for the touchback.
Now, when we get the chance to broadcast Monday Night Football in 2008, we have these beautiful new stadiums with great press boxes. What was it like, your setting for broadcasting this game?
It was primitive. I mean, the first thing I thought of if I was doing a game like is the World Championship, where would I sit? Well, there's a little ledge over there. Let's see, I think you'd be able to fit in there. No communication with the press box if any big announcement took place. You were there. You were isolated forevermore. And I was doing the game solo, play-by-play, so there was no moving around or going for something else.
Who was your spotter for the game?
My spotter was Maury Povich.
Was it?
Yeah, he was a teenager.
So you're responsible for Maury Povich?
I guess you'd call it that.
The Giants' offense would go 3 and out, but the top-rated New York defense quickly rose to the occasion.
Unitas starts to carry on a quarterback draw, gets away from one man, gets just about a yard, and there's a fumble, and the Giants recover. So the first big break of the football game as the Giants take over 1st and 10 on the Baltimore 37-yard line.
That game was blacked out in New York. And if you wanted to see the game on television, you drove to New Haven. The reason they did that was because the owners felt this television is never going to work. If we televise it, no one's going to come to our games at home, and no one's going to pay the price of admission.
The members of the winning team in this football game will receive approximately $5,000, while the losers will receive slightly under $3,000.
Well, these days, every game you play in the playoffs, the first...
Don't tell me.
Okay, I won't tell you that.
Don't tell me.
I won't tell you.
Heinrich still at quarterback for New York. Hands to Webster. Woody goes nowhere.
We almost had a fist fight before the game determining who was going to get a share. I almost got in a fight with Sam Huff because I wanted to make sure Jack Kemp got a full share.
Giant fumble, triplet, couldn't hold on to it, and I believe the Colts have come up with it this time. It's the Baltimore Colts ball. Gino Marchetti came up with it.
What did you guys get for winning share?
I think it was like 175.
175,000. Our whole team didn't make that.
Unitas calls the signals. He gets good protection. A little flare pass out to the left. Dupre has it. He gets to the 49-yard line.
I'm watching this film, and there's not a lot of grass on that field if there's any, so it looks like a big dirt or mud field. That's about all you guys have, and it makes it a heck of a lot harder for you. I mean, getting good footing and good plant, boy, that had to have been pretty tough.
Coming up, early drama leads to the first score.
And he gets yardage. He's at the 35, the 40. He's at the 50.
Next on the greatest game ever played.
Unitas calls the signals. He takes. He's going back to throw. He fires. Intercepted by Karolevich at the Giant 40. Gets across the 45 to the 47. Where it'll be Giants ball 1st and 10.
Despite the interception, the Giants go 3 and out. It seemed like they couldn't find their footing on offense early on.
Yeah, they were awful jittery in the beginning. Things weren't going right. They were obviously a little nervous.
Following the Giants' punt, the Colts had the ball on their own 15.
Unitas back to throw. Gets good protection. Throws a long one. It is good to Moore. He has it at the Giant 40, down to the 30, down to the 25-yard line. Lyndon Crow was defending on the play, but Moore made a great catch.
Oh, I don't want to see this. Every time I look up, you get that one.
Is that you right there?
Yeah,
41? Oh, man. Guys, how underrated was Lenny Moore?
Lenny Moore was one of the best players in the league. I mean, a great Hall of Fame player, both as a runner and a receiver.
You got to earn your quarterback's confidence. You got to earn him, having trust in you.
Raymond came to me. He said, Lenny, he said, we need more you in the offense. What is he talking about? Johnny calls the plays. He said, no, that's not what I'm talking about. What I'm talking about, man, is you got to be out there on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, after practice. He wants precise patterns so that you two guys time up. If you don't time up with John, he's not going to say nothing to you. That's what Raymond told me.
Right.
That's on me.
Right.
And you got to be there.
Unitas gets the snap, hands off to Amici, the fullback. Up the middle he goes, and inside the 20-yard line, down to about the 19.
Fundamentals of blocking. Stance, approach, contact, and follow through, and the most important, strike a blow. This was written down. We had to write this down.
Yeah, that's funny. That's the same thing they do now.
Unitas calls the signals. Hands off to Dupre, but Dupre goes nowhere. And it's going to be 3rd down and 6 yards to go.
I discovered that every Sunday, an Army Veterans Hospital would show up with 40, 50, 60 veterans, and they would have anywhere from 8 to 10 people to wheel them in. I was one they always said yes to when I'd show up and ask if I could help.
Baltimore penalized for a delay of game. It's now 3rd down, 11 yards to go. Dupre is the flank route to the right. The flip goes out to Lenny Moore. He tries to get around the corner, but he has dropped it about the 25-yard line.
We had coffee for the Army veterans. I would occasionally walk out with a cup of coffee for the sideline security, and he'd look the other way when I took my Yashica mat out and shot a few close-ups at the bench, till the veteran photographers of New York would spot me and chase me back to where I was supposed to be.
And so now it's going to be Steve Myra trying a field goal. The ball is spotted, booted. It is no good, but there's a flag on the play. The Giants were offside.
When I first started to kick, I didn't have a kicking toe. I didn't have one of those square toes. Just a regular shoe. It's tough to be accurate.
Accurate and probably didn't feel very good
no,
either, did it?
This time Myra will be kicking from about the 26-yard line. It's blocked. It's blocked by Sam Huff at Carl Carroll Evans. Sam Huff, number 70, came driving through to block it.
Kicking in general was an adventure.
Well, this guy was not a good kicker.
Myra had made only 4 out of 10 field goal attempts in the course of the season, so he was a risk every time.
Connolly is in at quarterback. The handoff to Webster. He goes wide to the left, cuts back in, but he gets just about a yard. Big Art Donovan in there to make the tackle.
You guys didn't have, like, you had a little thin face mask. Anybody put a forearm between there, try to...
Well, I before you put the face mask on, I didn't wear one, and I got kicked in the face, and I got 58 stitches.
So why didn't you wear a face mask? They didn't have them?
I put it on.
But what about before you?
Oh, no, you were a sissy if you used one.
Connolly at quarterback. Gets set to throw. Throws the quick one to Triplett, the fullback. Tackle made by Shinnick, number 66.
We had bed check every night at 10 o'clock.
Did you sneak out afterward ever?
No, I never sneaked out a night in my life.
Did you ever invite anybody party to the room? You have a party in your room after?
Are you kidding? And get caught?
Webster flanked out to the right. The ends are tight. The flip goes to Gifford, wide to the left, and he gets yardage. He's at the 35, the 40. He's at the 50, the Baltimore 40, the 35, and he's down about the 31-yard line.
This is a great run. This is 38-yard run right here.
You like that, huh?
Gifford doing some fancy running.
Naturally, I watch the offensive line, and you know, it's a lot. You guys use a lot of shoulders, right? And shoulders and
right.
You know, hands weren't.
You couldn't put your hands out like that. You have to hold them like that.
So you couldn't do that.
No, you couldn't use your hands.
Oh, well, I couldn't even imagine.
You were telling me about the holding thing. You got your arms out like this. That's holding.
Now, do they call it? Do they call holding? Because they don't really call holding.
The other thing was you had to keep your feet moving, just like you have to keep your feet moving.
Definitely love that holding. And now the guys basically tackle you, and they won't call anything.
Connolly calls, hands to Triplett, wide to the left. He cuts back in, but gets just to the 30-yard line. Art Donovan in there to make the tackle.
Well, I tell you right now, I'm so lucky I didn't play back then.
Oh
my goodness.
You'd have loved it.
I would have.
We really liked each other. There were no clicks, no nothing, and we had a great time.
2 Charlie Connolly incompletions brought a Giants 4th down, and Pat Summerall out for a field goal attempt.
From the 36-yard line, Pat Summerall boots it. It's good.
The goalposts at that time were much shorter.
They usually call them good if they were right over the top, or?
It depended on your reaction. I remember kicking one in a game that I wasn't sure about. The referee was standing behind me, and I put my arms up so he went up like this.
Absolutely.
I'm sure I talked him into that one.
Convincing him, huh?
Yeah.
Coming up, the Giants defense starts to lose its handle on Johnny U.
Unitas back to throw. Gets protection. Runs with the ball. 45, 40.
Next on the greatest game ever played.
Through with a 36-yard field goal.
So the Giants, after that field goal, are able to get the Colts to go 3 and out. So Unitas and the Colts haven't put up any points in the first quarter. I would sense that the Giants have to feel good about where they were at the start of the game.
Well, there's no question about it. Baltimore is known, of course, for its offense, but Giants are known for its defense. Right. And that was one of the factors going into the game, but the Giants have gone first blood in this one.
Connolly calls the signals. He gets the snap, and he's going back to throw. He throws the flare to Gifford out to the left. Gifford away from one man is a fumble, and the Baltimore Colts have recovered.
A lot of turnovers in this game. Huh?
Yeah, there were. Yeah, they say it was the greatest game ever played. It was really kind of a sloppy
game. I must
say,
say, between the field and I'd say
it was.
three turnovers already.
Another big break for the Baltimore Colts. Unitas hands off to Moore. Wide to the left, cuts back in. He gets down to about the 15-yard line. Sam Huff has him, and Moore finally is dumped to the earth by Sam Huff.
We had something called inside-outside 4-3. Say that if you're going to play on the guard, you also had to bump the tackle. If you went outside, you pumped the center. That kept all these people off of Sam Huff, and Sam Huff became a Hall of Famer. We made Sam.
Unitas calls the signals. Hands to Amici, the powerful fullback. Hits in behind the right side of his line.
Amici was a tough nut.
Yeah, he must have been. Tough guy, wasn't he, Jim?
We disliked him from the day he come to camp.
Third down, 2 yards to go. Unitas hands to Amici. Amici gets a first down.
And in 1960, when he was going to retire, he went up to Weave, says, I think I'm retiring. And Weave says, I think it's a good idea. You don't want to get that from your coach, do you?
No, not normally, yeah.
Unitas the quarterback. Hand off to Moore. Wide to the left. He gets by one man. He gets down to about the one, and he stepped out of bounds at the 1-yard line. Carl Karalevich had his arms on Lenny Moore, but Moore got away from him. Moore has tremendous speed for those sweeps around the end.
Most of the time I was out on the outside. The reason they put me back in the backfield was to mess up the defense. Right. So more in the backfield, more in the backfield. And then Sam Huff would do something else. I had twisted my knee the week before. I could only use one leg. And the rest of the time I was just trying to stand up. Then I'm seeing right now that they're running a lot in my direction. And I don't like that. I really don't like that.
Snap back to Unitas. Hand off to Amici, the fullback, and he's in for the touchdown. Well, it didn't take the Colts long to capitalize on that break.
I was the point of attack. I felt this surge, and I ended up on top of Rosa Greer and Jim Parker, and Alan Amici scored. And I thought, ooh, I didn't realize I was that powerful. And I looked at the film on Monday, and what happened is I've charged forward. I hit Jim Parker, our left tackle, in the butt, and he blocked Rosie, and I fell down on top of both of them.
Myra trying for the extra point. It's good. Myra converts. And it is a 7-3 football game.
The Giants would pick up one first down before punting to the Colts.
Simpson takes it at the 19. There's a fumble. It's the Giants' ball on the 11-yard line.
If you look at the game, as I have over and over, it was a really sloppy game. I fumbled once going in for a score, and I fumbled once coming out.
Connerly calls the signals, gets the snap, flips out to Gifford. Gifford fumbles, and the Baltimore Colts recover.
If I'm coaching Frank, I'm saying, Frank, you got no business fumbling the football 2 or 3 times. You just can't do that. And you're old enough, you've been around long enough, that shouldn't be happening. But it cost him big time.
Baltimore's ball, 1st and 10 on the Colt 14. Back to throw, Unitas. Throws a long one for Dupre, no good. Lyndon Crow covering all the way.
They didn't call as many pass interference calls?
Not for the same reasons that they would call them now. I mean, they would call them if you really grab the guy's jersey or, you know, when he breaks on you, but...
It's blatant.
Unitas goes back to throw. He fires. It's good over on the far side to Ray Berry. He was tackled immediately by Carl Karalevich.
Raymond Berry was, I think, a self-made football player.
Sure was.
You know, that guy's work was unbelievable.
You would love a player like that, Tom.
Yeah.
You can go to Westminster, where the Colts would practice in the summertime, and you just sit in the grass and you'd watch them practice. And all of the team would leave, and, you know, at the end of practice, except for Unitas and Berry, and they would stay behind.
Practice would be over, and it would be dark. And you could hear the ball hitting Barry's hands. When somebody asked John once, why do you do this? And he says, well, you know, Barry wants to do it. I just work here.
Was he the type of quarterback, would he talk to you guys and ask you about how you're being covered, what you like, what you think you can do?
As I have analyzed this game and studied it, you ask the question in some critical situation, why did he call that play? Time and time again, you know, he instinctively came up with what to do, and he did it.
Amici, Moore, and Dupre carried the Colts across midfield. And then it was Johnny U's turn.
Unitas back to throw. Gets protection, runs with the ball. 45, 40, 35, down to the 30-yard line. Unitas back to throw. Couldn't find and decided to take off with it, and that he did. 16-yard run by the flashy quarterback of the Baltimore Colts.
I never remember Unitas running the ball, you know, a 16-yard gain. That's a big thing.
Well, quarterbacks weren't supposed to run in those days. You drop back and pass, or you hand it off.
But you never think of Unitas as running the ball.
Unitas gives to Lenny Moore, and boy, he's really upended by Sam Huff. Huff just grabbed him low, picked him up, and dropped him at the 29-yard line.
I was injured in the second quarter. I ended up being mostly wide receiver the rest of the game. I had to be in the game as a decoy because they didn't know it.
Because they didn't know you were hurt.
Right.
Unitas back to throw. There's a marker on the play. Unitas starts to run with the ball. Baltimore is going to be penalized. A 5-yard penalty. It's illegal motion. The down is the second down, but it's now 14 yards to go. Unitas back to throw. Fires. It's good. A diving catch made by the left end, I believe it is, Ray Berry. Charles Karalevich was covering, but Berry made a great diving catch down at the 21-yard line.
Barry's like a boxer. When you're going in a long fight, you find out what you can do as the game or the fight progresses. And that's what Barry was doing all through the game.
How smart a player was he? Didn't have the physical attributes.
He wasn't that fast. I mean, not like he wasn't a gazelle, but he ran perfect patterns and he had great hands.
After Alan Amici picked up the first down, Unitas found Berry again.
Unitas takes to Amici, throws down in the end zone, and it's a touchdown. Ray Berry takes the pass in the end zone, and the Baltimore Colts lead the New York Giants 13-3.
I know that John told me one time, he said, Weeb told him before the game, and he said, I want you to throw, and I want you to throw a lot. He did not think we could run the ball against the Giant defense all afternoon, and so that was basically the only instruction he gave him, just throw the ball and throw it a lot.
One of the things I think you guys had that I see the same thing that Peyton and Marvin have is that just working together so much and understanding he has a feel of what you see and where you're going to be, and a lot of that just from practicing together, I'm sure.
Myra trying for the extra point. Snap, the spot, the boot, it's good. And it's a 14-3 football game.
Our offense was great. It was really nice when they received the ball. You just sit there and you go in 7 minutes later.
That's a good way to do it, right? You get to the end of the first half and the Colts are winning 14-3. Now the Colts have made a pretty good comeback here. What are the thoughts at halftime?
The thoughts at halftime is Baltimore thing. We've got this thing pretty well in hand. And it almost looked like they'd make a runaway of it when they went out in the third quarter because they kept going. Then a couple of plays took place which sort of changed the tide.
When we come back, love and loss in the city of Baltimore. For halftime of the 1958 NFL Championship, there wasn't a rock concert, certainly no Janet Jackson. There wasn't even Up With People. Instead, it was the Baltimore Colts marching band, cheerleaders and majorettes among the people entertaining the crowd. And just as we did with the players who made this game legendary, the men and women who livened up halftime got to see themselves as they'd never seen before.
That Baltimore Colts marching band was a big, big deal. In Diner, I used it for the wedding march that Eddie, who was a fanatic, had the Baltimore Colts marching band song as the bride came down the aisle. Da 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 ba 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 ba.
What is it, music?
Yeah, it's the Colts marching song. It's very tasteful, very tasteful.
Bill Miller, Baltimore Colts band.
Let's go, you Baltimore Colts.
My name is Rosemary Stafford Baldwin. I was a Baltimore Colts cheerleader.
Drive on, you Baltimore Colts.
I'm Danny O'Toole. I was a drummer back in 1958.
Fight, fight, fight. I'm Marge Schmidt, and I was one of the majorettes. Crash through that Chevrolet light.
And I'm her twin sister, Doris, better known as the younger one.
To victory.
The
Colt players were your buddies. You could actually see them anywhere in town and talk to them. They were just normal, everyday guys. And I'm standing right on the end, beating the heck out of the drum.
There's you, right there. Look how little you were.
This girl, Mimi Chalzinski, approached Eleanor Dudley and I and asked if we wanted to be cheerleaders. And when she left and got on the elevator, I said to Eleanor, who are the Colts? We would do a COLTS to, rile everybody out. We would be in a stooping position, bring the sign around standing up, throw them back down on the ground, and jump. The wind had been blowing. So the O and the L got transposed. It was CLOTS. Our fans went right along with it.
The routine that we did was Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. Those were red leotards, but black and white, they appeared as if we had nothing on. I don't think those leotards look that bad.
No,
at least we filled them out. Yeah, that's for sure. In more ways than one.
We had played the Colts song 56 times, counting all the way back to Baltimore. It was bloody at the mouth because on the train rocks and rolls, and the mouthpiece was hitting the lips, so that when I got back to Baltimore, I was a bloody mess.
By 10 o'clock this morning, most of the equipment and Colt memorabilia had been moved out of the Colt complex in Owings Mills, and the Colt employees had been told that the team was going to Indianapolis.
When the Colts moved to Indianapolis, the Baltimore Colt marching band continued to march in Baltimore from 84 until 96 without a team.
I think everybody and their cousin, when they saw those Mayflower trucks pulling out, I think their hearts went with them.
It was devastating to the entire city. We had built so much pride in Baltimore because of the football team that it was like losing your very best friend.
We met some people from Indianapolis, and I said to them, we put a curse on you. We were from Baltimore, and I said, you would never win a championship. And I said, however, because of Peyton Manning, he's a duplicate. His persona is so much like Johnny Unitas, and I really admired that man, and I thought, well, if they win, fine. You have to forgive and forget.
When we return, the start of the second half and a game-changing battle of wills.
Unitas gives off to Amici.
Next on the greatest game ever played.
We're just getting the third period underway here at Yankee Stadium. And we're anticipating fireworks. Again, Moore wide to the right. Back goes Unitas. Sets, throws. It's good. Grabbed off by Bird, the left end, a short hook pass, which finds him tackled. There's a disturbance on the far side of the field, but immediately the officials are into it to stop it.
Bob, all these Hall of Famers in the game, and I've heard about this little sideline spat with Sam Huff and Weeb Eubank. Look at Weeb running over there. What'd you see?
Weeb Eubank was very upset about this. He felt that Huff was really giving it to his man. I mean, he's the gold of the team. He went after him. He took a swing at Sam Huff, and Huff automatically swung right back at him, and they were separated, but neither one got a knockout.
That was a non-fight. Huff challenged Weeb. Weeb thought the team was behind him, backing him up, had his back, as it were, but Weeb looked around, there wasn't anybody behind him, so all he had in front of him was Huff, and he just backed off.
The Colts and Giants would trade punts before Baltimore took over on their own 41.
Back to pass is Unitas. Good protection. Throws to Mutchler. Mutchler makes a brilliant catch.
Oh, my God. What a catch.
Wow.
Look at that.
Wow. His accuracy was unbelievable. I mean, they're making catches that they should make. He put the ball right where they should catch it every time.
This time it's Dupre flanked to the right as Unitas comes back to throw again. Fakes once, hits Barry on a hook, and Barry is tackled by Karolevitz and by Huff.
I don't know how you like the middle coming to ground.
I make my money in the middle, but you got to keep your head on a swivel.
Oh, boy.
It'll hit you.
The Colts blocking has been superb. Unitas flips to Moore. Moore has it at the 5. Moores it down at the 3-yard line. It's first and goal to go for the fired-up Baltimore Colts.
I just remember as a Giant fan, you know, being so upset that they weren't winning.
See, the thing that's interesting about it in watching the game, I never remember the Colts being ahead early on.
Bob, you mentioned how the Colts had control of this game, and this drive here in the third quarter, boy, if they could have scored one more, do you get the sense that that might have been it for the Giants?
This could have been the big score of the game. If they came through, it would have gone from 14-3. They would have been in front by a score of 21-3. And that was quite a hurdle for the Giants to come back on.
Johnny Unitas calls signals at the 3-yard line, gives to Amici. Amici is at the 2, the 1. Amici is down just shy of the goal line.
That's when we, as a defense, have to come together as a goal line stand. You know, that offensive, that's like one of the best moments of a game that kind of gets lost. Supposedly the advantage goes to the offense, but defensively, that's when you really have to step up.
That's the toughest part of the game for an offensive lineman, too.
2nd and 1 yard to go. Unitas quarterback sneak. He does not appear to have made it.
See everybody's feet slipping out from under him?
Oh, yeah, I do see that, yeah. Oh, yeah, the guys are slipping all over.
So everybody was just basically bumping into each other.
A goal line run in the NFL right now is extremely hard.
That field was frozen down on that end of the field. You could see his feet slipping, so he couldn't get the power.
It's third, a little less than a yard to go for the Baltimore Colts. Unitas gives off to Amici. Amici can't do it. Amici is piled up at the line of scrimmage as the New York Giants are showing why they have won rave notices with a tremendous goal line stand.
To put on a goal line stand, had they scored, you sort of give up when you're that far
That would have been the turning point in the game.
The Baltimore Colts with 4th and 1. The Giants aroused, digging in along the goal line. Let's see what happens now.
If you kick a field goal, you're up 17-3. You're up 2 touchdowns. But, yeah, you got a chance to put the game away right there. You got to go for that one and get it in from the 1.
Unitas this time flips wide out to Amici. He is brought down, and the Giants take over at the 5-yard line.
John Unitas called a pitch out to Alan Amici, and he was supposed to take the pitch out, start running in and throw a pass. And I was standing in the end zone by myself and didn't see me.
Wow. That play there was a pass play. So 428 is pass. He didn't hear the 4. He heard the 28. And he went out and he tried to stretch it out, even though that part of the field was frozen. So that took a touchdown away from us.
That may have been the big play of the football game, that 4th and 1, for the Giants, who put it in a tremendous goal line stand.
Unitas never said anything about this for years. I mean, he never said that somebody blew the play. We were sitting just above it. It was as if you could almost reach down and try to get him to do it right. But we never would be talking about this game today if it weren't for that play.
I'm curious, Raymond, on that, what you guys' mental state of mind was right then, taking it down, driving down the field, going to the 1-yard line and not scoring.
I think disgust would be probably the way to describe it.
Coming up, a wild play puts the Colts on their heels.
Ball is fumbled by Root. The New York Giants pick it up. Webster picks it up.
Next on the greatest game ever played.
Baltimore leading 14-3, had a chance to get some icing on the cake as they marched steadily down to the New York 1.5-foot line, and there the New York defense manifested itself. Bill, wasn't that a dandy?
Imagine the feeling in that stadium then. 1st and goal to go, and they're thrown back 2 yards.
Right.
That was an amazing stand, and that one play made a big difference.
It's amazing how well they were doing just running right up the middle with Amici in the 2nd quarter and the 3rd quarter, and then they choose to go wide. Now the Giants, they've got some momentum and the ball, and from their own 5, they were able to kind of take it off the goal line and move it down the field better than they had all game.
Mike, you think now with that great stand, we're waiting now for the Giants to break through, right? and they run a couple of plays, but they're not going. We're waiting for the big play. Is there a big play? Are they going to come back and score to get things more even? Well, finally, they come up with that play.
Third down coming up for the New York Giants. The ball is down the 12-yard line. Connolly fakes the pitch out, throws a deep pass to Road. Road has it. He's in the open at the 50. Here comes Nelson to get him from behind. The ball is fumbled by Road. The New York Giants pick it up. Webster picks it up. Webster's at the 10. Webster is knocked out of bounds to the 1-yard line.
That's great hustle there.
Boy, he come a long way, didn't he?
Is that something? That turned the game
I thought he was in the end
around.
zone right there.
No, it looked like it was.
Sure.
He would be today's game.
Yeah, that's right.
If you move the flag, you score.
So the New York Giants, with a freak play, now have first down and 1 yard to go for a touchdown. What a freak, weird play that was.
You know what stands out to me right at this very moment? The absence of little red flags in coach's socks, and it's the replay. Because that would have been challenged and probably down by contact or something.
Connolly now, handing off to Webster. Webster drives, doesn't make it. He's piled up, short of the goal line.
Did it never feel like the goalpost was in the way when you was at the goal line? Like you was limited?
No, we used to use the goalpost to cut off the guys. I mean, you go down and run a pass play and cut and run a guy into the goalpost.
New York has second and goal. Here is the handoff to Triplett, and Triplett smashes in for the score. New York now has 9 points. Baltimore has 14.
But I just noticed Mel Triplett, number 33, in the stands very often at these games was a young man named Lou Alcindor. And that's the reason he wore number 33 as a basketball player. Really? It was Mel Triplett's number.
3 minutes, 45 seconds to go in the third period. And here, trying for the extra point, is Summerall. Summerall's kick is good. And the score is Baltimore 14 and New York 10.
For you guys, that holder really had to be important. He had to really put the ball
holder
in
had
the
to
spot.
really be certain that he put at the spot you were looking at.
If our holder misses the spot by an inch or two, we can adjust a little bit more, where if they miss their spot for you guys, it's pretty tough to make that up.
Right.
You can't really adjust for that.
So we get to this point, the Colts go 3 and out. They still have the edge on the scoreboard. But how about in the stadium? How about the momentum? What did you feel broadcasting? Did you feel the Giants were starting to get into this a little bit more?
At this point, it looked like the Giants had finally come to life offensively. They were getting a new break. They were in there. They had the momentum going at this point. And all of a sudden, the Colts, who had been out in front, during the first half there, had the lead, looked like they were going further ahead. They were being knocked back by New York. So the tension kept building at this point, and it was anybody's ball game. But the Giants seemed to have a little edge.
20 seconds unofficially to go in the quarter. Connolly back to pass, throws complete to Silker at the 40-yard line. First down for New York, and that is the end of the third quarter. The score is Baltimore 14, the Giants 10.
Was that the Giants situation, that the defense really carried their team and the offense kind of stay out the way type of thing?
The offense was fine. Charlie Connolly is the best quarterback who's not in the Hall of Fame.
Bob Wolf speaking here in Yankee Stadium, which has never been noisier than it is this afternoon, as we come down the last quarter of this National Football League championship game. Giants with the ball. Connolly this time. Fakes, goes back to pass, throws deep to Stilker. He's in the open. Gets the ball at the 20, and is finally brought down at the 15-yard line by Nelson.
We did a lot of play action stuff. We didn't have time to do anything different for this game because we had a playoff game against Cleveland to win our division the week before.
First and 10 for the Giants in the Colts 15. Connolly back to pass. He throws in the flat, complete to Gifford. Gifford to the 5, the 4, he's gone.
It's just a little A-flare out of the backfield, and Charlie
took a swing at your head and missed.
They were doubling up on Rote, and he did a slant in. And the other back covering Rote tried to come back, and it was too late.
The veteran Charlie Connolly maneuvered the New York Giants 81 yards in 4 plays, hitting Frank Gifford for the touchdown. And now it's Summerall kicking the extra point. It's good. The score is New York Giants 17 and Baltimore Colts 14.
On the next Colts possession, a pass interference call set up a potential game-tying 46-yard field goal attempt by Bert Retzichar.
swatted down. Here's the boot. It's a high one. It is carrying, just short of the goalpost.
The ensuing Giants drive was cut short.
Ball goes to King. He fumbles the ball. The Baltimore Colts have the ball on the Giants' 42.
The Colts capitalized on the turnover, reaching the Giants' 31, but the drive would be short-lived.
Unitas this time fakes to you. Dupre goes back to pass and is thrown for a loss.
Robustelli was the heart of the defense. He was the Marchetti of the Giants. And, Sam was a great player, just as Robustelli is, but Robustelli's in the Hall of Fame, too.
It's 3rd and 19. Unitas, back to pass, is hit and thrown for a loss by Mo Zaleski.
I was counting sacks in this 58 game, and I went through and I did it myself. I think the Giants had 5 and the Colts had 4. But that night, we sacked Tom Brady, a great quarterback, 5 times and hit him 9 other times.
Yeah.
And nobody had done that.
Bob Wolf speaking, all set to go. Brown now goes back in punt formation, 4th and 27, the situation. He gets off a high spiral. Patton takes the ball on the 5-yard line, almost stumbles there, and it's knocked out of bounds across the far sideline, close to the 20.
Coming up, the first down debate that's lasted half a century.
It may or may not be a first down. It'll be that close.
We look to solve it once and for all. Next on the greatest game ever played.
And now time begins to play a most important part as the Colts keeping a wary eye up there on the clock. 1st and 10, the ball on the 19-yard line. The ball goes to Webster. Webster cuts back and goes forward for a 3-yard advance.
The Giants have the ball. They're trying to run out the clock here. And if they make a couple of first downs, the game's going to be over. And the score is, you guys are down 3 points.
17-14, Giants ahead.
So the Giants take the lead in the game. They're getting a couple of stops. They get some breaks. But it seemed like everything they were doing to succeed on offense was passing the ball. Now they need to get the ground game going and run out the clock a little bit.
Absolutely. That was the trick. They got to use up the time now that they have the lead.
5 minutes left to play in the ball game. Can New York run out most of that clock? Gifford off the tackle is brought down.
I tell you, watching this game and reading some of the highlights on it, this was really one of those games that it was the tale of 2 different games, wasn't it? I mean, it was lopsided one way, all of a sudden you guys come back, and it must have been a fun game to be a part of.
Was.
Gave you a couple of those gray hairs, too, I bet. I've got a couple myself from a few games like this.
Can't do that yet.
3rd and 5, the ball's the 24-yard line. Connolly throws a sideline pass to Webster, who is knocked out of bounds by Nelson. First down for New York, and the last 4 minutes will now determine who will be the National Football League champion team.
Now, did you feel it slipping away? I mean, it's 14-3, and in the blink of an eye, it's 17-14 now, home team. What were you thinking as a Colts fan?
As a Colts fan, we were worried. We were worried.
The ball is handed off to Webster. Webster is hit hard by Donovan. 3 minutes and 40 seconds to play, and the Colts have to get it back.
The Colts, because you think of Unitas and the big offensive unit that they were, but they were a great defensive team.
Oh, Gino Marchetti. And,
great defensive team.
Connolly this time hands off to Gifford. He finds a hole off the right side as the ball's moved down to the 40-yard line.
Now, see, it's interesting. They keep running to the right toward Marchetti. I'm not sure, why they were running to the right, but I wouldn't try and make a living running on Gino Marchetti.
3rd down and 3 to go. This is a crucial play to see whether they can maintain possession for New York.
For most of the game, Gifford went to the left. In the previous play here, they had a little success. They were tempted, but going to the right, you're going at Marchetti.
2:50 left to go in the ball game. Connolly to Gifford. Gifford off the tackle, smashes to about the 43-yard line, and it's going to be close.
Is there any one thing that you remember the most that sticks with you?
Well, we make the tackle, and the Giants, they're screaming they made the first down. Well, we didn't know if they did or not. But everybody's screaming and hollering, Gifford made the first down.
Yeah, when Frank went north, he went north hard, though, and there's the stick right there.
This was just a 47-pounder he ran over the right side, and Gino is at the bottom of that pile.
It may or may not be a first down. It'll be that close. And they're calling now for the stretcher.
Well, Big Daddy came piling on and fell on Gino's ankle and broke it. And that took Gino out of the game.
I guess it hurt, huh, Gino?
Oh, God. Oh, you know, if I wasn't a big guy, I would have cried. Big Daddy was actually the guy that come onto the pile that really finished.
He weighed about
me all.
310.
I really played the play badly because I tried to outrun Frank. If I'd have played it the way I should have, I wouldn't have got hurt.
Gino Marchetti is the Colt who was shaken up on the play. And when Gino is shaken up, it certainly takes a lot to do it.
Well, the referee, supposedly, when Marchetti yelled, he looked at Marchetti for a second because he was screaming, and then he put the ball down about 6 inches back.
Well, now they're waiting for that big measurement to see whether or not the Giants made it. They missed it by 3 or 4 inches.
Well, do you think that because Gino breaks his ankle that there's confusion about the spot? Like I had read somewhere about that?
Yeah.
Well, he thinks there was.
Gino was hurt. I knew right away that there was a whole lot of grunting and screaming, get off him and all that. A lot of people thought I had it. We still didn't question Charlie Berry's call, which, by the way, about 2 years ago, I get a letter from his grandson, and he had talked to him.
Sure.
He said, you know, Frank could have been right.
I saw Gifford last September in Baltimore, and they're still talking about him making the first down.
Do you think he made the first down?
Very honestly, I did not know. I'm seeing bodies sprawled all over the field. I'm watching Marchetti. He's being attended to. I don't see anybody pick up the ball. I know that Charlie Berry, the line judge, made the call.
We got a bad spot, is what it looks like to me.
Well, you know, you don't have all the modern things, you know, where they show the line and everything else. You know, you go, well, I don't know. It looks like it is. It's not.
See, you don't have instant replay either.
Oh, no forward progress, nothing.
I'd love to know whether or not he made it, and I don't know if it's technologically possible to know these days.
A half century later, and the debate continues. How can we get the answer? Well, we can use the science and technology that helps to figure out how car crashes happen, reconstructing car crashes. The man who can do it, he's right there. His name is Jeff Mutard. He is an accredited reconstruction expert and forensic mapper. He can tell us, believe it or not about the car crash, but the contact point. Did Frank Gifford get the first down? So we are all ears.
I did a technique called photogrammatical mapping. So I'm going to start with the frame here. Number 16 is Frank Gifford, and Frank Gifford, his left arm is out and his right arm is holding the ball. And as he continues towards the turf, he lands on the turf. The 40-yard line is to the right, and the 45-yard line is to the left. Up above at the top, we can see the circle is the first down marker. These parallel lines are not parallel from this perspective, so therefore they have a point where they connect, and that is the origin of a perspective grid. We connect the two lines, and once we connect the two lines, we then can connect to that origin point to our first down marker. We can see where the first down marker is relative to the field. When we zoom in here, we can see the first down line going across the field and through number 80. Frank Gifford is to the right. His entire body is to the right of the first down line, so therefore he did not have the first down. From this angle, Frank Gifford has the ball in his right arm as he's down. I'm going to use a computer program and rotate the scene. Now the 40-yard line is to the left, the 45-yard line is to the right. And we can see he gained 9.3 feet from the 40-yard line. In order to get a first down, he would have had to gain 10 feet. So Frank Gifford was about 9 inches short of the first down.
So amazingly, I guess to use the vernacular of replay now, the ruling on the field stands as called.
Stands as called.
If they would have given us the first down, we wouldn't be sitting here. I'd played a lot of years at that point. I didn't even look over to the marker because I felt I had it. But you know, maybe I didn't.
It's fourth down, inches to go. There are 2 minutes and 33 seconds to play. Would you risk it? Holding possession with inches, or would you kick it if you were the New York Giants?
A lot of us on the sideline thought we should have gone for it on fourth down. We didn't. Could we move the ball? I doubt it.
Oh, we all wanted to go for it. It was what, fourth and about 5 inches.
But that's a player's thing, isn't it? You want to go for it.
And I remember everyone was telling Jim Lee how, let's go for it, let's go for it.
Yeah.
Marchetti is out.
Yeah.
And Jim says, kick the ball. Kick the ball.
If you don't make it, look where you are. With the Colts on the 40-yard line, you're just 10 yards away from field goal range.
I think I'd do the same thing. I think you punt it to the other end. You said they got the number 2 rated defense.
Number 1.
Or number one?
Yeah.
You got to play to your strength and punt that ball.
Chandler back with 4th and inches. Here's the boot. It's a high spiral. Carl Tassif goes back, calls for a fair catch, and has the ball on the 14-yard line. So the Colts have 2 minutes and 20 seconds to pull this one out.
Coming up, the clock winds down on Baltimore's championship hopes.
Throws complete to Berry. Berry is at the 45, still going at midfield.
Next on the greatest game ever played.
The Baltimore Colts have 2 minutes and 15 seconds to pull this one out. They're on their own 14-yard line.
Can Unitas pull it off in the 2-minute drill?
Well, there was a feeling if anybody can do it, he could do it. The team had great confidence in him. He had proven himself under fire, but now he has the Giants to contend with. They're up to win this game as well, and it's up to whether or not Unitas can connect with Berry. You know he's going to hit.
I remember trotting on the field to start this series. I was disgusted because I said, we've already blown this game because we should have already put this game out of reach, and we didn't.
And they do it. The next 2 minutes will tell. Unitas back to pass. Throws a long one downfield to Mutchler. Incomplete. 2nd and 10. The Giants are leading 17-14. There's the official 2-minute warning to the rival benches.
This was the invention of the 2-minute drill right before our eyes. I mean, we didn't know that you could march down the field.
Something that we take for granted. It rolls off your tongue now. The 2-minute drill starts right here.
Unitas back to pass. He throws to Dupre. Dupre can't get it. And it's 3rd and 10 from the 14-yard line.
I knew our defense was going to hold him. So I'm talking to our quarterback, Heinrich, and I said, in '56, you won the championship. What did you get? He said, well, we got a ring. And I said, boy, I'd really like to get a ring this time.
The Colts have to click or they'll not be in this game much longer with 1 minute and 50 seconds left to go. Back goes Unitas. He throws to the sideline, and as a completed pass to Lenny Moore, it's a first down for the Baltimore Colts on the 26-yard line.
I knew where 10 yards was. I went 12 yards, came back, and he completed it at 11. He knows just exactly where to put the ball.
1 minute and 20 seconds left to go. The Colts trail by 3 points in the ball game. Unitas back to pass. He throws toward the sideline, incomplete. And that stops the clock.
We were well prepared as far as the 2-minute drill was concerned. I didn't notice any apprehension among anybody.
You prepare for it so much, you know, during practice. I sit there and watch Peyton and Marvin and Reggie and those guys hook up. I mean, I see it every day in practice. You know, when they drive down the ball on us sometimes, you know, I see it. I know this is what we prepare for.
Here's Berry flanked wide to the left now. Dupre is back with Amici, and Moore is flanked wide to the right. It's 2nd and 10 from the 25.
John and I would spend time on our own talking football and talking situations and rehearsing them. One time we talked about, if a linebacker walks out here on me, what are we going to do? Because you can't run a 10-yard square in with a 250-pound linebacker around your neck. Well, I'm wondering if John remembers, and I'm sure he's wondering if I remember what we had agreed on.
With 2nd and 10, Unitas back to pass, throws complete to Berry. Berry is at the 45, still going at midfield, and knocked down. The New York Giants had 8 pass defenders, and yet Berry got that pass complete and was finally dropped down at the midfield stripe.
Those pressurized situations, making things happen, playing by instinct, that's when your great players make those plays that make the difference in the game.
This sets the tone for the second completion and the third one. We don't get the first one, we're not going to get the game.
Timeout called by the Baltimore Colts, stopping the clock with 1 minute and 5 seconds to go.
We were getting back and unloading it. Their defense had been holding us for all 3 quarters. We hadn't been putting up any points after the first quarter and a half of that game.
1st and 10 at the 50-yard line. Unitas fakes the pitch out, throws to Berry, complete. And Berry is brought down after picking up a first down. There are 45 seconds. The ball's on the Giants' 35-yard line.
Unitas throwing the ball and really running the patterns that we did, boy, he only had a
split second to try to make a move or something, and then the ball was there.
Were you guys in no huddle at this point? Were you going right to the line, or were you still huddling?
I don't think there's any question about the fact that the no huddle threw off the Giant defense. We're almost like we're on automatic pilot. We just go into the routine. Unitas is calling them. We're running what he says.
I know the times that we go out in this situation, we're down 3 points, and we've got the ball with Peyton. I just feel like we're going to move it and score, and I think our whole group feels that way.
First and 10 to go on the 35-yard line of New York. Unitas back to throw, does throw. It's good to Berry. Berry shakes loose one into the 20, the 15. He's down on the 13-yard line.
Throwing a Raymond Berry, that's what Sam Huff says. The only thing I keep hearing in my head is Unitas to Berry, Unitas to Berry.
Just 10 seconds left to go. Mario will attempt the field goal from the 20-yard line.
All that happened so fast, and all of a sudden his field goal team on run off. He didn't have time to think.
We were scared to death because Steve Myra is not a high percentage kicker.
Well, he wasn't a good kicker, but linebacker got hurt, so he played linebacker most of the game. And we were kind of worried when he had to kick it.
There's no such thing as the chip shot in the mind of a kicker.
Those 20-yarders can feel like 50 in a hurry when you haven't had a great game, that's for sure.
You have to have a lot of confidence. I think that's the thing that makes a kicker successful.
Yeah, there's been a few times that I've wanted to go to the other sideline after a miss, but hopefully those are far and few between.
You haven't missed much.
I could not watch that play. So we had come all this way to New York, and I could not watch that play. I was standing to the left of my father, and I buried my head in his overcoat.
Myra will attempt a field goal. Here's the boot. It is high. It is good. He makes it. Myra makes it. Ties the ball game 17-17. Man, what a game.
I think psychologically we got a big break on the Myra kick because he didn't have time to think.
My father screamed, "He made it, he made it."
Hey, we couldn't believe it either.
There wasn't anything in the world we wanted more.
That's maybe the most difficult kick out there, too, is the game-tying one, because you haven't put the game out of reach. All you did was extended the game a little bit longer, and you know you're probably going to have to go out there and do it again.
And what a clutch comeback by the Baltimore Colts. Brother, this is one for the books.
It's hard to believe you haven't had an NFL championship game go to overtime, and these two teams with all their great players had this seesaw game, and nothing's been decided for 60 minutes.
I got a little excited as I listen to myself here. Well, I can see why.
Coming up, the Colts and Giants go into uncharted territory.
We figured, well, you know, boom, it ends in a tie. That's it.
Next on the greatest game ever played.
Never before in the history of the National Football League or professional football has there been an extra period, and the Giants won the toss, and they're going to receive.
I still find it hard to believe that here you have a championship game, but because there's not overtime in the regular season, and we had not had a game tied at the end of regulation, that people were thinking, okay, the game's over? Well, this is the championship game.
Well, this was the first. Never had happened before. That added the extra element to this game. The title game, an overtime game. It had every element you needed to make it the greatest game ever played.
When the game was over, we shot off to the sideline. We figured, well, you know, boom, it ends in a tie. That's it.
I remember sitting on the bench next to Kyle Rote, and when the game ended, he looked at me, he was the captain. He said, "What do we do now?"
We're guys ready to go home. Those guys just said, forget it, let's just go home with a tie.
Okay.
Everybody get a ring, everybody, both teams are champion. What was the thought?
We'll share it. It was used to be a tie was a tie. There wasn't anything about
the word sudden death before.
I never
that
did.
day.
I never heard it. So when they came out there now having sudden death overtime, it was something brand new.
Here's the Retchachar boot. It's a high one, not going too deep. It's fumbled by New York. Maynard touched the ball after fumbling it, and the Giants keep it on their own 20.
The Giants won the toss, which made every Giant fan at least think all they got to do is get down within field goal range and they'll win.
Right.
It's 4:35 here in the East, and the lights in Yankee Stadium are invaluable because dusk is falling, and it's a wonderful picture here.
You look at the light. It was such a beautiful time of day now. This was just what in the film world you would call magic hour.
Connolly this time gives off to Gifford, sweeping off the right side. He cuts in, finds Little Hole.
The fact that the Colts chose to defend the end zone
put me
in the right spot.
Right.
Had it gone the other way, had they chosen to go the other way, I would never have gotten a picture.
A going away photo is not as interesting as the coming towards.
Not from 100 yards.
Connolly back to pass. He throws to Stelker, incomplete. They have 3rd and 6 on their own 24.
We all said, if we get John Unitas the ball, we're going to win. Gino Marchetti had broken his leg, and they brought a fellow over from the right side named Odell Bracey, who was a good football player like you. And I says, Bracey, they're coming with the sweep.
Connolly rolls out and keeps the ball, goes forward for a gain of about 4 yards before he's knocked down. And with 4th and 1, the Giants send in their punting unit.
What is your mindset right now? You feel like the momentum's going your way?
It's funny you bring that up, Tony, because I can give you a real simple answer. We knew we were going to win that game. When we got that ball, there wasn't any doubt in our mind we were going to move that ball all the way, and we weren't going to be taking any field goals either.
It's a 17-17 game, all tied up. Chandler gets off a high spiral. Sassett takes the ball to 17, back to the 20, and slips down to the 21. Gino Marchetti was on his way to the locker room, but he insisted on staying out on the stretcher to watch.
I watched a couple plays, then they had to get me off because the police said if the game would have got over in one big play, the crowd would get on the field. He said, you'd never get me off.
1st and 10. Unitas hands off to Dupre to play up the right side. Goes 5 yards, goes close to a first down, and he may have picked it up.
We were a tired team.
Yeah.
Our defense was getting, they had to play back-to-back games against Cleveland, and Johnny had taken them apart in the second half.
1st and 10 on their own 31. Unitas back to pass. Throws a long pass, Lenny Moore racing. Knocked down by Lyndon Crow.
Lenny Moore would always be out, flanked out to the right someplace. So most of the time I'd have to be out there. But again, too, if you take your eye off of him, he'd kill you.
2nd and 10. Again, they give to Dupre. To play off the right side, gets 4 yards in the pickup.
It's LG running the ball again. I didn't realize he carried the ball that much.
But at this time, you guys are just tired, want to get the game over with, right?
Big play coming up for possession of that ball. Unitas back to pass. Throws in the flat to Amici. First down. He made it. First down for the Baltimore Colts on their own 41-yard line.
Y'all making a pretty good drive down the field. What's going through your mind as in, this is championship games, overtime. We are moving the ball. We got a chance to spawn these guys. We got a chance to put them away.
Leaning on Johnny U the whole way.
Unitas this time gives to Dupre off the right side, and Dupre gets close to the 45. It'll be 2nd and 6 to go.
In this series, we've never seen anything like this. This was just the ultimate and exciting and thrilling, and you just didn't know. And it meant everything.
Unitas made it that way.
Yes, he did.
Unitas back to pass. It's rushed. Throws for loss by Mo Zaleski came shooting in.
Here's where I got beat. Ooh. I'd like to say that I slipped or something.
I can still say it. You can still use it.
3rd down, about 15. Unitas calls the signals. He's going back to throw. This time he gets protection. Starts to run with the ball. Now he throws. It's good to Berry. He's at the 45. Tries to battle away from a tackler, Carl Karolevich, but Karolevich holds him at the 43-yard line. And it's 1st and 10 for the Baltimore Colts.
He's looking to throw to the right, and he scrambles out to his left and hits Berry.
He and Ray Berry are so attuned to each other.
Big first down.
A lot of balls thrown in 2 seconds, 2.5, and you see there's one scramble. This is probably one of the few balls that got caught where it wasn't delivered under 3 seconds.
Unitas this time gives to Amici, finds a big hole in the center. Amici rams his way forward, deep into payoff territory.
In our playbook, how do you stop the hard-charging defensive lineman? Trap, draw, screen.
Yep.
How do you block?
Same thing. It has not changed.
Oh, great hole.
Beautiful call. She caught Sam Huff out of position. Sam didn't know what to do. He wasn't sure because he was trying to stop Raymond Berry from catching those passes, so he would cheat over. So he left an automatic hole.
First and 10, the ball's on the 20-yard line. The ball goes to Dupre, who cuts off the right tackle, trips and goes down. And the decision is whether to try for the field goal and salt it away or keep possession of that ball.
You get in the field goal range, now you start taking knees and...
But they didn't think like that then. But the only real solid, dependable field goal kicker was Lou Groza then. You know, even Summerall wasn't that dependable.
Unitas, the quarterback, calls the signals. Snap back to Unitas. He throws the quick one to Berry. He makes a fine grab at the 10-yard line. They're going to mark it at the 8-yard line. It'll be Baltimore's ball, first down and goal to go.
Whew. That's a gutsy play, throwing a little in route right there.
There are a couple of gutsy plays in this drive.
I'm never mad at a team for trying to get us a few extra yards to make it a little bit closer, but there comes a time where we have to earn our money too.
Coming up, one of the most iconic images in sports history. Next on the greatest game ever played.
The Baltimore Colts tied with the New York Giants 17-17 in the sudden death. Extra period. Have the ball on the 8-yard line. First down, goal to go. Play will be held up now. A fan running out on the field with three of New York's finest trying to corner him.
A fan runs on the field.
And at the same time, there's no picture.
I watched the game at my friend Stewart's house. It was this frantic moment towards the end of the game, and all of a sudden it went completely dead. And I'll never forget that moment of here you are at this big thing that's happening on television, and there's no picture. None.
Plus, it turned out to be nothing but somebody kicked the cable out.
Somebody pulled a plug, and so they sent the guy who worked for the television crew out to him. He grabbed the ball and started running around the field with the ball. I don't know whether you do that today or not.
The fan was with NBC, the news manager. Chances are he got a big promotion after this because he played the part of the guy running on the field, wrestling after the football, going in the huddle or something. But that gave them the chance to get the plug fixed and play the game again.
Oh, wow. Delay the game so they can finish the
So
game.
they could get it fixed.
Oh, yeah, that's a smart move right there. Yeah, that's real good.
First down coming up. 8 yards to go for the score. Johnny looks over the defense. Hands off to Amici. Amici rams his way off the right side.
I remember the New York papers focusing on the owner, on Carol Rosenblum, who was supposedly a big gambler. And all New York was talking about was the fact that he didn't go for the field goal because he had taken the spread.
Yeah, right. I'd heard this story.
What a change. Imagine that, you know, they had a safe field goal, couldn't lose, so you don't have to win by 7.
Here's another thing you got to think about, Dwight, is the goalpost being on a goal line, and there is no angle really anymore for a kicker. But if you get down on the goal line,
you got to kick it that way.
That's right. You couldn't.
If you take it from a hash mark, you got to basically kick it
today's
sideways.
kicker couldn't do it because he has a draw on it, just like a golf ball.
Yeah.
A golfer does.
Yeah.
Unitas calling out the signals. He passes. Cut. Let's see if Mutchler got that ball and went out of bounds. Mutchler took it out of bounds in the very end on the 1-yard line.
Stay in bounds, you stupid.
Oh, he slides out on the ice.
See, that's what happened. Raymond went over and checked all those things, and I didn't go check them before the game.
Dangerous pattern.
That one gets picked off. It goes 98 yards
Right.
for a touchdown the other direction. There
There
it
were
is.
a lot of bettors who were thinking that.
In the locker room after the game, I said to John Unitas, weren't you taking a chance on an interception there? An interception, the Giants might have gone 95 yards the other way and won the game. And he gave me that wonderful Unitas cold stare. And he just said, when you know what you're doing, you don't get intercepted. He said, thank you very much.
He was right up close to that flag on the far side as Johnny threw to him there. We had to wait and see whether or not he was able to tightrope his way in.
Well, thank God it didn't go touchdown. Might have been the end of a career that hadn't begun. This was the best thing that happened to me because this is just about when they stopped paying any attention to anybody like me. They had their hands full.
It's 3rd and 1 yard to go for the championship.
Here it comes. You've seen this a gazillion times.
Yeah.
3rd down 1, you got a bad kicker, you run the football.
Absolutely.
Barking out the signals for the Baltimore Colts. Unitas gives to Amici. The Colts are the world champions. Amici scores.
Thank God, one of the best blocks I threw.
50 years later, congratulations.
Hey, thank you. Thank you.
Congratulations.
Lenny come out and did a fantastic job on blocking the outside linebacker, and it created a great big hole, and Amici went in untouched.
Let's enter overtime. The Baltimore Colts win 23-17.
One picture has always stuck in my mind, and it shows Unitas having handed the ball off to Amici, just turns, and with his head bent slightly, is walking away. There isn't any celebration whatsoever.
I got 2 or 3 frames that are among the best pictures I've ever taken. When Amici scored the winning touchdown, of course, I was exactly 10 yards straight in front of him. If he'd continued running, he would have come right at me.
Bedlam is broken loose, ladies and gentlemen, at Yankee Stadium. And there'll be a hot time wherever Baltimore fans congregate tonight.
This is in New York, right?
New York, yeah, Yankee Stadium.
And people run on the field like you're in Baltimore. Aren't they supposed to be like walking off the field, mad?
And they just let the fans storm the field like that?
I thought they were going to kill Amici, just giving him congratulations, and it looked like they were tearing his things up.
I remember the disappointment, the heartbreak. And I remember after fighting, having to fight my way back to the locker room.
You know, today it's so much different. There's so much security around. The confetti starts coming down for the winners, and the losers are almost non-existent at that point. You can't even go across and congratulate the other team. They just get you swooped out the other side.
The Colts ridden off like world champions on the shoulders of their admirers who have swarmed over the field.
Just imagine dumping a bucket of Gatorade on Weeb Eubank's good suit and hat. That would never have happened, and today you wouldn't ever see a player carried out of the stadium like that. It's just certainly not in the pros.
Down with the goalpost in a matter of seconds.
Oh, they go after the goalpost still, huh?
Yeah, there they go. Oh, that guy got hit with the goalpost coming down. I got a piece of that goalpost in my office.
Do you really?
That somebody sent me.
Probably would be a little bit sweeter if the game would have, the outcome would have been a little different,
bit.
huh?
A little bit.
By chance, I gave the headline first, and the Colts are the world champions. Amici scores. I had the headline right, and the ball carrier second, which is where it should be in the championship.
It stood the test of time.
Yeah.
You did the right thing.
The first sudden death in the history ever. Made you rich.
You did. Appreciate that.
When we return, the meaning of the greatest game ever played.
It's the game that really catapulted the NFL into living rooms every week.
Then and now.
In the greatest football game that I have ever seen, the Baltimore Colts capped the greatest years in the club's history by becoming the world champions of professional football, and they did it with as inspiring a clutch comeback as my eyes have ever witnessed in a game.
Baltimore Colts, world champions, and it happened in Yankee Stadium. That was like an exhilarating moment that suddenly wasn't just a game. It was about the smaller city, you know, beating the big guys in Yankee Stadium, the house that, you know, Ruth built.
I know when I walked off the field that day, it was one of the great all-time thrills of my life.
What you learn is that all championship games come down to a couple of plays at the right time, and making a first down by 6 inches as opposed to not getting it, keeping your poise throughout the game, and making a big catch as opposed to just barely incomplete.
It was a wonderful experience. It was almost like a religious experience when we won.
That's a life lifelong dream for me. Winning the Super Bowl was huge for us and huge for me.
That is something you'll always remember and never forget.
Never forget that game.
After you guys won the game, did things change? Where us to win the Super Bowl is totally different. It's like everything magnified times 100.
Well, you know, you go back to Baltimore, you're like kings coming back after a battle. They never had a winning team. It's the greatest thing ever happened to the city.
We just felt triumphant. Going home was an indescribable feeling. When we got back to Penn Station in Baltimore, I looked for the Sun, the Monday morning edition, because I wanted to verify what had happened.
What was the reason that this game got elevated to this level as the greatest game ever played?
What made this important was that television had now come into being. You had all-stars on both sides, as many as you could find. You had the ups and downs of this game. You had the first overtime championship game. And of course, the thrilling part of the seesaw battle all the way through, it had everything you needed. If you're writing a script, this is it. You got it. You had the perfect game, and that's what it was. The greatest game ever played.
Football's a spectator sport.
Definitely.
And that game in particular pushed pro football to the top of the heap.
There isn't any question. It was the game that put pro football on the map.
Yeah, it sure did.
The guys who played in that game had no idea that that game was going to impact their entire lives enormously over the years, and it's grown almost in a mythological way.
I guess you guys, and in this game, really put football on the map for the rest of us.
At the time it was happening, at the time we were playing, I don't think we had any consciousness of anything like that. We thought it's just another game and we got to get through this, and we're playing for a lot of money.
Lamar Hunt was watching this game in Dallas, and this game is what inspired him to say, hey, there's only 12 cities that have pro football. Let's start a new league. And that was the birth of the AFL.
You know, a lot of people like to credit the Jets' upset of the Colts in Super Bowl III.
Well, this created the AFL.
That, yeah.
The Jets justified the merger, but the AFL was inspired by this game.
Well, I think anybody that understands NFL history by now understands that when it talks about being the greatest game, it's talking about it was a turning point game in the history of the league, economically, big time.
I think for me, by 1960, I'm 5 years old and watching NFL football every Sunday. It's the game that really catapulted the NFL into living rooms every week.
Unitas stayed on top for quite a number of years. He didn't fade away after that game. So as his reputation got bigger and better, I think the game became more and more important.
In Baltimore, it was immediately the greatest game ever. We didn't need time.
Well, the game is what it is today because of people like you two.
Tomorrow's game will be because of you. Can I tell you how many people watched that game in Phoenix, that Super Bowl, and were turned on to pro football? When it comes right down to it, the great teams, they love each other.
They love each other, no question about it. And this group of young men that played for the New York Giants this year, they did love each other.
Oh, you can tell.
I know our team has moved from Baltimore to Indy, but just the Colts name and Colts stuff in our record books, I think we definitely feel a bond to that 58 team.
The thing that is really most unusual is not just the Colts in Indianapolis, winning it, but then the Giants come back and win this year. I don't know how you could orchestrate something quite like that.
There's a bond that goes along with it that people who haven't done it don't understand, because it's like a brotherhood. It really is.
I agree. Although we may forget the names of some people that have played in the past, they're the ones that built the home that we're living in now, for sure.
We playing this game the way we're playing it now because of you guys starting for us back then. So
True.
I would like to thank you for opening up the door for a lot of us young guys.
But aren't you embarrassed at the money you guys make and the money we made?
Embarrassed? No. I'm thankful for you guys paving the way.
This is the roots, this is the foundation, this is where it all started, man. And you guys did what you had to do, and you had to, pave the way for us.
We were the best at that time, and you guys are the best in your time. And it's just a wonderful feeling to have. And I'll tell you one thing, Dwight, it's been my pleasure to talk to you.
Oh, man.
That's super kind.
No, I appreciate you, man.
The big winners 50 years ago, football fans and the NFL. Alan Amici turned up on Ed Sullivan's show that evening, and the following week, Sports Illustrated declared the 1958 NFL Championship the best football game ever played. And the echoes from that legendary day would carry on into the next century. For instance, Frank Gifford and Pat Summerall went on to become signature voices of the NFL, one or the other appearing in the booth for 20 Super Bowl telecasts. The Colts-Giants rivalry gained momentum for the NFL the following season. Johnny Unitas led Baltimore back to the title game against New York. This time in Baltimore, different city, same result. The Colts beating the Giants a little more comfortably this time, 31-16. By the time Unitas retired after the 1973 season, he was the standard for today's quarterbacks, and his record of a touchdown pass in 47 straight games still stands. Vince Lombardi jumped from the Giants to Green Bay in '59. Fans would be captivated by the Packer aura throughout the 60s. 5 titles in 7 years, including Super Bowls 1 and 2. By Super Bowl 5, the league would name their championship trophy in his honor. After being fired by the Colts following the 1962 season, Weeb Ewbank moved over to the AFL and the Jets, where he'd meet up with Unitas and the Colts in Super Bowl 3 and coach a Jets win that redefined the NFL for generations to come. Weeb Ewbank won the 2 most important games in the history of the NFL. Tom Landry would get his turn in the spotlight as well, going from running the Giants defense to head coach in Dallas, masterminding the Cowboys into the beginnings of worldwide popularity as America's team. And 20 years after some 45 million people watched Amici go over from the 1, more than 100 million would see Landry's doomsday defense wreak havoc on the Broncos in Super Bowl 12. The number would continue to grow through to today, with more than 148 million watching all or part of the Giants ending the Patriots' run at perfection in Super Bowl 42. The NFL was still trying to find its way when the Colts and Giants met on a cold December Sunday 50 years ago, right here in Yankee Stadium. The 1958 championship game changed things forever. For the greatest game ever played, I'm Chris Berman.